On my daughter's birthday, my mother showed up uninvited and demanded to be called Mom instead of me. I laughed and said, "You're just in time for the announcement." When the police arrived, she screamed. I was standing in my kitchen, arranging the last of the cupcakes on the tiered stand, when I heard the knock. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of knock that made my stomach tighten, the kind that announced trouble before I even opened the door. I knew who it was before I saw her face. With a sigh, I set down the frosting bag, wiped my hands on a dish towel, and headed for the door. The party was in full swing, balloons, decorations, kids laughing in the backyard. Today was supposed to be a good day, a peaceful day, but I should have known better. She stood on my porch like she owned the place. My mother, the woman who had given birth to me but had never, in any meaningful way, been a mother. Her face carried that smug look, the one she always wore before ruining something. "Hello, darling," she said, stepping forward, expecting me to move aside. I didn't. "What are you doing here?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, even though I already knew the answer. She clutched her purse, smirking. "It's my granddaughter's birthday. You didn't invite me." "For a reason," I said flatly. Her eyes narrowed. "Now that's no way to talk to your mother." I sighed, already feeling the headache creeping in. "You're not my mother. You gave birth to me, but you lost the right to be my mother a long time ago." She scoffed, arms crossing. "Well, your daughter doesn't know that. As far as she's concerned, I am her grandmother." I exhaled slowly, keeping my temper in check. "You are not in her life. You haven't been. You don't get to just show up and pretend otherwise." And that's when she dropped the bomb. From now on, she should call me Mom. I blinked, certain I had misheard. But no, she stood there, completely serious. A short, disbelieving laugh escaped me. "You're out of your mind." She lifted her chin defiantly. "I'm just as much her mother as you are." Years of memories flashed through my mind. The neglect, the manipulation, the screaming matches, the lies. The way she chose every man in her life over me, even the ones who hurt me. The way she abandoned me when I needed her most. And now, she had the audacity to stand at my door and demand a title she had never earned. "You're just in time for the announcement," I said, stepping aside. She hesitated, suspicious, but walked inside anyway. The party continued, parents chatting, kids playing, music filling the air. My daughter was across the yard, laughing with her friends, completely oblivious to the drama unfolding inside. My mother strode in like she belonged, like she hadn't missed years of birthdays and milestones, like she hadn't chosen herself over and over again. She opened her mouth, probably ready to launch into some dramatic speech. But before she could, sirens cut through the air. She frowned. "What's that?" I crossed my arms. "That would be the police." Her face twisted in confusion. "What?" Then came the sound of car doors slamming, heavy boots on pavement. The officers moved through the yard with purpose. Parents turned to look, whispering among themselves. And then, the moment I had been waiting for, the second my mother realized why they were here. Her entire body went rigid, her face drained of color. And then she screamed. She knew. She knew exactly what was happening. She knew exactly what she had done. And she knew, this time, she wasn't getting away with it. The scream that tore from her throat sent chills down my spine. It was raw, guttural, the sound of someone realizing their world was about to collapse. She whipped around, wild-eyed. "What did you do?" she spat, voice shaking. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The officers moved in, their expressions unreadable. One of them, a tall man with a no-nonsense stance, stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said, addressing her, "we need you to come with us." She took a step back, hands trembling. No, this is a mistake," she stammered. "I haven't done anything." But she knew better. One officer pulled out a folded piece of paper. "We have a warrant for your arrest." And just like that, the party stopped. The music, the laughter, the chatter, it all faded. Parents stared. Some of the kids kept playing, oblivious. But the adults were frozen, their eyes bouncing between us. My mother, the woman who had spent her life thinking she was untouchable, the woman who lied, manipulated, destroyed everything in her path, now stood in my living room, her past finally catching up with her. "I don't understand," she shrieked. "This is some kind of joke. You set this up. You're trying to ruin me." I crossed my arms, heart pounding, but my voice was steady. "No, Mom," I said, the word bitter on my tongue. "You did that all by yourself." One of the officers pulled out a pair of handcuffs, and that's when she lost it. She lunged at me, fingers clawing, nails digging into my arm as she tried to grab me, to shake me, to make me break. "You ungrateful little." She never got a finish. The officers grabbed her, yanking her back as she kicked and thrashed like a wild animal. I took a step back, shaking off the sting in my arm, breathing heavy but controlled. She screamed again, this time less rage and more panic. "What am I being arrested for?" she wailed, eyes darting to the officers as if they might suddenly realize this was all a mistake. The tall officer's expression didn't change. Fraud, identity theft, and child endangerment. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence. Then whispers. Parents murmuring. Neighbors gathering outside, drawn by the flashing lights. The weight of what was happening rippled through the air. Child endangerment. That was the one that hit the hardest. Because now, every single person in that room knew. This wasn't just some family dispute. This wasn't just drama. This was serious. My mother's eyes snapped to mine, desperation replacing the rage. "What did you do?" she whispered, her voice cracking. I exhaled. "I found out what you did." She shook her head violently, her silver hair flying. No, that's not true. That's not. It is." I took another step closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "I know about the accounts you opened in my name. I know about the money. I know about the loans. And I know about the hospital records." Her mouth opened, then closed. Checkmate. She knew exactly what I was talking about. And now, so did the police. The officers started pulling her toward the door, but she fought them every step of the way, screaming, sobbing, begging. "No, you don't understand. She's lying. My own daughter is lying about me." I didn't say another word. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching as they dragged her away. And then, just before I got her out the door, she screamed something that made my blood run cold. "You will regret this. I swear it. I'll make you regret this." And just like that, she was gone. The front door slammed shut. The flashing red and blue lights outside bathed the house in a strange glow. I let out a slow breath, then turned. Every single person at that party was staring at me. I forced a smile. "So," I said, clapping my hands together, "who wants cake?" Laughter, nervous, awkward laughter, but it was enough. The party carried on. The kids played. The parents whispered among themselves. But no one asked questions. No one pushed. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt free. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. For the rest of the party, I did my best to act normal. I smiled. I cut the cake. I thanked the guests for coming. But inside, my heart was pounding. I kept replaying my mother's last words before they took her away. "You'll regret this. I'll make you regret this." It wasn't just an empty threat. I knew her too well. I barely got through the night. When the last guest left, I locked every door and window in my house, double-checked them, then sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. The adrenaline was fading and exhaustion was creeping in, but I knew I wouldn't sleep. Not tonight. And I was right. At exactly 2:43 a.m., my phone rang. I jumped, my heart slamming into my ribs. I reached for it, my hands trembling. When I saw the caller ID, a known number, I hesitated, then answered. At first, there was nothing, just silence, then breathing, slow, ragged breathing. And then, "You think you won?" I went ice cold. It was her, my mother. "You're in jail," I said, gripping the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. She chuckled, a low, eerie sound. "Oh, honey," she purred. "You have no idea what's coming." The line went dead. I sat there, frozen. How? How was she calling me? I had just watched her get dragged out of my house in handcuffs. I barely slept after that. Every noise, every creak in the house made me jump. When morning came, I called the police station to check. "Your mother is still in custody," the officer told me. "No phone privileges." I felt the blood drain from my face. So she couldn't have called me. No, that's impossible. But it wasn't impossible, because it happened. That was the first sign that something big was going on. And then the letters started showing up. The first one arrived the next day, sitting neatly in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, written in tight, slanted handwriting. I recognized instantly. My mother's. I open it right there, standing on my porch. "You think you're safe. You're not. I told you I will make you regret this. You have no idea what you've done." I read it twice, 3 times. My hand was shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. I ran inside and called the police again. "She's still in jail," the officer said. "There's no way she sent you that." But someone did. And whoever was knew exactly what to say to get under my skin. 2 days later, another letter. And this time it was worse. This time, it wasn't just a threat. It was a copy of a forged document, my signature at the bottom, and a note scrawled across it in red ink. I wonder what will happen when this gets out. I felt sick. I knew exactly what this was. It was a forged statement claiming I had taken out a massive loan in my mother's name, like I had been the one committing fraud. Not her. She was trying to flip the whole thing on me. And she wasn't working alone. She was still behind bars, which meant someone else was helping her. Someone close. Someone who had access to my personal information. My pulse pounded in my ears. Then a thought hit me. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my messages, my emails, everything. And there it was, a bank notification from a week ago, when I had ignored, thinking it was just another scam email. Confirmation. "Your request to change your primary email has been processed." My stomach twisted. I didn't make that request. Someone else had. Someone was inside my accounts. Someone was pulling the strings while my mother sat behind bars, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I thought this was over. I thought she was finally out of my life. But I had been wrong. This was just beginning. I had to act fast. My mother wasn't working alone. Someone was out there, helping her, hacking into my accounts, trying to frame me for the very crime she had committed. And I had a feeling I knew who it was. My mother always had a favorite, a man she once called her soulmate. In reality, he was just as rotten as she was. His name was Frank, a slimy, manipulative con artist she had dated on and off for years. Every time she got into trouble, he was the one whispering in her ear, helping her find loopholes, covering her tracks. I had no proof yet, but I knew, so I set a trap. First, I went to the police with the letters. I told them about the forged document and the strange phone call. They agreed something shady was going on, but without proof, they couldn't do much. So I gave them proof. I logged into my online banking and set a new security alert, one that would notify me the second someone tried to access my accounts. Then, I created a fake email and linked it to my banking profile, making it look like I was requesting a massive money transfer. And then I waited. It didn't take long. The next morning, I got an alert. Someone was trying to authorize a withdrawal of $50,000 from my account. The location? A dingy motel 3 miles from the jail where my mother was being held. Gotcha. I called the police immediately. Within 30 minutes, they were there, kicking down the door. And guess who they found? Frank, sitting on the bed, laptop open, logged into my accounts. The idiot hadn't even tried to hide it. And the best part? He had letters from my mother spread out on the bed, letters with detailed instructions on how to drain my accounts, forge new documents, and pin everything on me. The cops hauled him out of there in handcuffs. When they interrogated him, he cracked, admitted everything. And just like that, my mother's bail was revoked. She wasn't getting out. Not now. Not ever. I could have stopped there. But after everything she put me through, I wanted real revenge. So I went public. I posted everything. And just like that, the perfect image she had spent years creating shattered. In the end, my mother was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Frank